Is this lighting good? Okay. Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. If you have ever wondered if you are an empath or you've heard people say they're an empath and not quite understand what it is, stay tuned because I'm going to be talking about that today. So through friends, I find that people confuse being an empath with having anxiety and having empathy towards people. So I just want to talk a bit about the difference between the three. So an empath can have anxiety and obviously has empathy towards people, but having empathy towards people does not mean that you are an empath, and it doesn't mean that you're going to have anxiety issues. And the same goes, if you have anxiety, it doesn't mean you have empathy towards people or that you are an empath. So I think that's the main point of where the confusion happens. So this little one does not like it if I am not giving him attention. So he sees me talking here and then he makes me want to carry him all the time. Like he wants to see like what's going up here because he's so tiny. So I guess because the show is the Coco show, I need to show you guys little Coco a little bit so that he can get off my back. So now I have him up here. You know, he knows what's going on. If things were up to him, he'd want me to carry him the whole time. That's not happening. He can sit on the back and like just stare at me. I'm fine with that one. Oh, look, see, he's trying to be all cute now. Like, mommy, hold me. Like, please don't let me go. Right? Right? So now, more on what an empath is. Do I have a mark here? Yeah, my little dog just drooled on me. Anyway, so being an empath is basically like being like a sponge compared to like SpongeBob SquarePants. So if you are an empath, you absorb people's energy like a sponge, and then what can happen is you can get overwhelmed by their emotions. So usually empaths can't be in really crowded places. It causes them heightened emotions, heightened anxiety, and that's where my point was about like being an empath can cause anxiety issues, but it doesn't necessarily have to be vice versa. Sip some tea. Oh, you're probably wondering what I'm drinking. This is an Arabic coffee. It's from the Middle East, particularly in the Gulf, called qahwa. It goes really well if you're having something sweet. It just has a bitter taste. It's like a yellowy color, and I love it. So as I was explaining, like being an empath is picking up on people's energies, right? So when you pick up on people's energies, when you like look at situations, you can tell if someone is being dishonest. You can tell if there's something just off about what's going on. And sometimes people can like literally pinpoint it and say, this is exactly what's going on. But sometimes it's like, I don't know what's off, but there's something there. And that leads me to the other point that I want to discuss with you about empaths, and that is that empaths are different levels. There are people that like can't at all be in crowded situations because they're going to have a panic attack. But then there are other people that like can go in crowded places. They just need to like be careful with it. And then there's people that need to protect their energy when the people around them are always negative and stuff, and just need to protect it in that sense. It's all pretty different. And I'm going to talk about a really interesting point here, which is it can kind of turn into a psychic ability. So some people, like, I don't know if you've ever watched this show, I can't even remember what it's called, but it's like about the psychic, and she'll hold on to someone's hand and then she'll start telling them about their lives. For me, that's a form of being an empath. So there's people that when they're touched by someone else, that they can pick up and absorb person's energies. And it might be like in this specific moment that it's happening, but it might also be that it happens like within the few days or something. So it's happened to me where like for me it can be like touched. So it happened with me with a masseuse where I felt exactly what she was going through, and I think it was like that night or the night after. And I've had situations where just like by talking over the phone, I've had situations where it's after seeing someone or during seeing someone. I've had, but this is the thing, right? It just needs to, like for me in particular, I just need to have that connection with someone in some way. So even if it's a very like surface level connection, like I can pick up on the energies. It's not like I try to, it just happens. And like, unfortunately, it's very rare that I pick up on high vibrational feelings of like maybe the person's in love with someone. I feel that they're in love with someone. Like it usually isn't that. Like I usually pick up on people's negative emotions. Like I usually can pick up on people's stress, their anxiety, their sadness, and I pick it up in different ways, which leads me to the next point. So vibrations are vibrations, and I think that sometimes people can confuse whether, like for example, let's say I'm feeling anxious today, but I am an empath. I know because of specific experiences in my life. So maybe I might confuse it and I'll like have anxiety because I suffer from anxiety issues, and then I'll be sitting with someone and my anxiety might be heightened, and then I'll leave and I'll be like, oh, I picked up on that person's anxiety. Like I'm just giving an example here. This doesn't apply to me, but I've seen it happen with other people that are empaths who have anxiety issues anyway, and then they think that the anxiety that they're feeling is the other person's anxiety, but it's not. It's just theirs because they also have anxiety issues. So it's really, really difficult, but with practice, you start to be able to differentiate whether it's your anxiety or it's someone else's anxiety. And like it makes it more difficult when you suffer from anxiety issues yourself. It's like, you know, if you're feeling it like all the time or you're feeling it around a specific person, you might be like, okay, that's their anxiety. But it might be something like deeper than that. It might be like something about that person causes you anxiety, like, I don't know, just the way they talk or the way they dress or like anything can like set off an anxiety trigger within you with your anxiety issues. And you might confuse that for them having anxiety and you pulling that anxiety, if that makes sense. I felt like that's a bit confusing, but I think that's so important to note because like I've seen it so many times where people have anxiety issues and they'll be like, oh, I felt like I picked up anxiety from that person, and you know that person is going through this X, Y, and Z. But then like I'll know the person and I know that person was super happy that day, and they'll be like, oh, I had an awesome day. I was with this person who's like a person in common, and like we had the most fun, and like I've been in such a good mood for like the past month, and I don't know, like I'm in a happy relationship and I'm so in love. And so when that person tells me and I know that person suffers from anxiety, I'll be like, no, dude, I think that's your anxiety. That's not that person's anxiety that you absorbed. So it's kind of like, you feel like it's theirs, but it's just you projecting it off, like if that makes sense. So if you're still not sure if you are an empath or not, these are other things that I'm going to be talking about so that you can check and like, you know, get off your checklist and see if like they apply to you. They don't all have to apply to you, but like maybe 50% should apply to you if you are an empath. So another interesting thing is like people are drawn to you to tell you their problems, and and in your nature, like you can't just not care. You just care deeply and immensely about everything they're going through, which is a point I made earlier. But if you feel like that you are a person where people are drawn to come to you and tell you their problems, then that is probably a big sign that you are an empath, unless you're a psychiatrist or something. So that doesn't apply, but you know what I mean? And you naturally are a healer of some sort. So there's different kinds of healers of like all different levels. But if you are a healer of some sort, like for example, just lending an ear, like when someone wants to talk about something, that's a form of healing. Or let's say, for example, I don't know, you do crystal healings or Reiki or like, you know, something like within that field, then you're probably an empath because something draws you towards that. And that's the thing. It's like when someone tells you like, just don't care about what they tell you. Like, let it go in one ear and go out the other. It's something you can't do. Like, you can't just switch off. It's like this is how I'll explain it. It's like you're a radio. Okay, we're all radios who emit signals. We send and receive signals, but your signals are heightened. They're like lifted so much higher. So that's why you feel things so much stronger. So I mentioned earlier that you can pick up on things when things are off, or like if someone is like not being honest and whatever. I just want to like come back to that point again. It's like you're literally like a walking lie detector, and you can tell, and it's like subtle things that you probably are not aware of. It's your subconscious that is making these decisions for you and telling you that that person is lying about X, Y, and Z, and you just know it. And you can even do it with new people. It's not even about people that you've known for a long time. It's also brand new people that you've just met, and it's happened to me plenty. Like, I can give a really good example of this guy who claimed he had an MBA from Harvard, and I remember telling the people around him, like, this guy is, excuse my French, bullshitting. Like, he does not have an MBA from Harvard, and this guy was getting like a really high salary. And anyway, time passed by and we found out that the guy was a con artist. We contacted, it wasn't me myself, but like someone contacted the university, and he got fired from his job because they found out that, yeah, someone did graduate with that name, but it was like in 1970 something, which would have meant that he graduated when he was like 11 years old or something. So like he was using someone's degree. It just wasn't his, which was insane. Like, and then, it was just a crazy story, but like that's the extent where like empaths can pick up on people just being dishonest. But what you can do about that is all up to you. Like, I hate lying, so I confront people a lot when they're lying. I'm like, why are you lying? Like, you don't need to do this. And this is kind of on me. Like, I've gotten into like big arguments with people about them and they're lying. And it's like, why am I doing that? Like, whose energy am I wasting here? This person is a compulsive liar. They're not going to stop lying. It's just the way they live. They've been brought up in a way for all their life to like be like this. So what am I going to do to change anything? And who cares? Let them lie. How does it affect me? I don't need them in my life. And I'm getting angry about this video right now. Oh, what's going on? Yeah, calm down. You can also be sensitive to things outside of you other than people. So as we said, everything has an energy, and you're like that radio that is sending and receiving these signals. You're the sponge that keeps on receiving these signals. So you can also be very sensitive to light. You can be sensitive to sounds, tastes, touch, and that's something actually that a lot of people, I'll give you an example of myself here, which I found out like early on, was like people with fibromyalgia are usually very sensitive to like either sounds, taste, something. And for example, me, I'm very sensitive to sounds. Like if I'm in a loud place, like the loud sounds can cause me to have headaches, or like I can get anxiety from like being in loud places. But also I'm so sensitive to light. So whenever I make you guys these videos, you have to understand like the effort that it takes from me to like deal with the lighting situation in the room. Not saying it's your guys' fault. This is all me. Like, I made these decisions, but like I've always had a problem with like flashlights or something in that regard. So that's things for you to bear in mind. Like, are you sensitive to sounds? Are you sensitive to taste, to touch? If someone touches you, do you feel like, oh, I feel sensitive? That kind of thing. Just bear that in mind. So if you've also ever felt that you are highly sensitive to, like, if you watch the news or you read the newspaper, just these like tragic and bad things that they talk about in the media, if you feel like you're very sensitive towards it, that is also a sign that you're an empath. So usually people that are sensitive towards that, they can't like read the newspapers, they can't watch the news, because it just like affects them immensely. And you know, sometimes they say like, what you don't know can't hurt you. And that's like a really good example of like, you know, taking yourself and protecting yourself from not getting affected by things in the media. And like, unfortunately, if you think about it, like the media in general is just like so negative all the time. It's like, it's either like a gossip magazine. What? Like you are gossiping about people, celebrity or whatever, they're humans, right? So you're telling us like negative things about them, like he cheated on her and he did this, and like why do we need to know these kinds of stuff? And like this person died from a drug overdose and they got a divorce. Like these are all like negative things, and they like, just me talking about it now, like I'm getting so affected. And then that means like in that kind of thing, like you can't even be around people that enjoy like gossiping and such a negative sense about people, like it kind of affects you. And then like with the news, like what do they talk about? Like wars, rapes, murders, like that is not something enjoyable at all. So in that particular sense, I would suggest you, if you get affected, some people are like, I can't just like switch it off. I can't just like completely like be oblivious to what's going on. And I'm going to tell you, like, for the gossip columns and whatever, yes, you can. You don't need to know that shit. But when it comes to like the news, I would suggest like, so this is a bad habit I had and I didn't think it was affecting me, but then I'd have anxiety throughout the day. And then at night, I would have nightmares. So what I was doing was, the first thing I did on my phone was I would read the news. And sometimes I didn't even realize like it would consume me. Like sometimes I would like spend like a good 2 hours like reading the news. And I would like feel anxiety throughout the day, and I'm like, what's going on? Like I haven't even been around anyone, because I can pick up if it's someone else's feelings or not. So I was like, why am I feeling anxiety? I know it's my own. Like, why am I feeling this? I haven't even been around anyone. And then at night, I would have nightmares about the things like I read in the news. And then I started to realize, okay, that is where like my anxiety is coming from. So what did I change? I started to like not look at the news to be the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning, because it's not serving me. Like unless they're going to tell me like my building's on fire, like I don't need to watch the news when I first like wake up. You know what I'm talking about? So I started like to start my day with positive things. And so basically, like I do the morning hygiene, like brush my teeth, wash my face, like all of that kind of stuff. And then I do something positive after that. So I will meditate, or I will put Om chants in the background, because they're very high vibrations with the Om chant. And I suggest it like free all over YouTube, like you can find it. And then what else is there? There's so many things that I do. I like to put incense, like I'll burn incense, or I have like an oil, it's called a Bunsen burner. So I'll put like some oils and like just smelling that throughout the day. Make myself a coffee, like like just the process of making coffee is so enjoyable for me. Like, putting it in the coffee machine and smelling the aromas and having like the little milk froth thing where like I can smell, like, I don't know, like just the whole process is like so enjoyable for me. And it's something so positive that I like, so I just, basically the point of this is I start my day on a positive note. And that's why I'm sharing it with you guys, because I think it's so important, like that we don't realize that when we get out of bed on the wrong side, it's kind of something we've done that has caused that. And we're usually not aware of it. So if you get out of bed on the wrong side, as they say, like you woke up just in a bad mood, I don't care. You do your morning hygiene and do something that makes you feel good, the first thing. And if you just do that, it can completely change the whole outcome of your whole day. So I did bring up my dog a while ago, and I showed you guys how he needs the attention. He needs the TLC. He's like a little attention hoe. But so people who are empaths, they have like an extreme love, an overwhelming love for animals, for people, for babies. I'm not a big baby person, but for animals, oh my God, like I tried for years to act like I don't like animals, but I love them. Like before him, I had a little cat, and my cat's name was Coco too. It was really unfortunate. I had to give him away to someone who threw him on the streets, I found out later, and we're no longer in contact. But anyway, point being that you just have this I just call my dog names something funny, sorry. So anyway, you just have this overwhelming, loving feelings towards, it can be people, it can be towards babies, it can be towards animals. And if you are that way, I would highly suggest that you get an animal. I wrote an article. You can check it out on my Instagram, on my bio, talking about like what you can do if you have love for animals and how to make sure that you are doing things correctly to like have heightened vibrations. So just bear that in mind. So, with all that being said, what can you do if you're an empath to preserve your feelings? Like, what can you do about it? The first one I'm going to say is meditate. I say that a lot for a lot of things, and it's true. Like, meditation really helps. And I've given some pointers of like starting your day on a good note, different things you can do with that within that. Also, something that I've mentioned is setting boundaries with people, and that's only to preserve your energy. It's not because the person is bad. It has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. You know, it's about like your natural wanting to help them and to fix their problems and to heal them and like all these different things. Like these are things that you really need to preserve within yourself, because like it will overwhelm you. Aside from setting boundaries, another very good thing that I haven't mentioned at all throughout this video is being in nature. So empaths naturally like to be in nature, but if you don't even know this, then go ahead and try it. Like go to the beach, and it doesn't have to be with anyone. Like wake up super early and do it by yourself. Even, you know what? Wake up super early and do a sun gaze meditation. Sun gaze meditation is where like there's a sunset or a sunrise, and you just like gaze at the sun as it rises or as it sets all the way, and then you're done. You don't do anything else. That's all you do. You gaze at it like going up or down. I've done that a few times in one of the mountains in Goa in India. The first time I did it was really difficult, but I felt so amazing after it, like being on top of this mountain, seeing the sea, like sun gazing. That was just like so awesome to me. It was unbelievable. So it's really something I would suggest to you guys. Also, like you can go hiking, you can go jogging, you can like all these things connect you with nature. And then you can do something also that is in nature, which is called grounding. Grounding is the effects of your feet being on the ground. And I'm not talking about in your house. I'm talking about on ground, on earth. And how that works is because your body is like naturally like charged up with energies, and so is the earth. So when you ground, it takes out the energies from your feet and like puts it into the earth, and then it kind of like stabilizes your own energy. And it's the same thing like with, I think with Buddhists and Muslims, when they pray towards their gods. Obviously there are different gods, but when they pray towards their gods, one of the movements is putting their head towards the ground. So that also takes out the energy from the forehead into the ground and stabilizes your own energy. And that's why they feel so good after praying. They'll be like, you know, I feel good, I feel calm, I was feeling anxiety, I was feeling all these emotions. And that's what it does. So anyway, guys, as usual, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. You can contact me on Instagram. I put a lot of interesting captions and stories and pictures and everything on there. I'll put the link down below for you guys to catch me on there. And if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, please get in touch. I'll be honored to talk about it. If I know something about it, if it's something I've studied, I'll definitely be doing it. And if you would like any sessions with me, please get in contact through my DMs or my email, which I'll also put down below for you guys. And namaste.